everyone, today's reading that I'm going to share with you is on the missing person, Suzy Lamplugh. The first thing I have to say is that this is for entertainment purposes only. It's my thoughts and opinions, not fact. Now, Suzy Lamplugh was an estate agent from Fulham, London, and she went missing on Monday the 28th of July 1986. She was last seen that day when she went to show a client, a potential buyer, around a house on 37 Shorrolds Road. The buyer was named in the diary as Mr Kipper. There was no client record for him and he's never been traced. Her car was later found before 10 p.m. that evening, around 2 miles away on Stevenage Road. Interestingly, the car was parked up. It was slightly over the garage, I believe. The handbrake was left off, the key had gone missing, but the driver's door was left open, and it also had Susie's purse still in the glove compartment with all the money in it, so it was clear it wasn't a theft. One of the main things that the police picked up on about the car was that the driver's seat was too far back for Susie to have been able to reach the pedals. So the first thing I get in this reading from Susie is that she's overarchingly, she's a good person. She's, she's career focused. She's doing really well at work. She's got promotions ahead of her. She has the potential to become a real high flyer. She's only 25 years old. She's sociable. She's popular. She has her own place in London. Life's going really, really well. It's like she's entering this new phase of life and she's really looking forward to what's coming in the future. Now, that morning in particular, something that I'm not going to say ignoring, but something that she'd been putting to the back of her mind was playing on her mind a little. And when I've looked at it, I feel as though this was the checkbook. So on the Friday before she went missing, it could have been Saturday, it's not clear, but she'd lost her checkbook, a postcard and her private diary. They were all in her handbag. Now, the landlord at the Prince of Wales pub found them at midnight lock-up time, and they were placed on the step of his public house. So he took them in, contacted the bank, and then once Susie got in touch with the bank, they told her where she could collect them from. Now, the first thing that I'm getting around this and what came out through the reading was that this was actually a male, and he wasn't after the checkbook, which back in the 80s was much better than having someone's bank card. So it wasn't a theft, a financial theft, but what it was someone who wanted to look through her personal diary to find out a bit about her. I kept on getting this obsessive, jealous, spying feeling. With this male, what I get from him is that he's quite stable financially, he's quite wealthy. I'm getting some sort of lawyer type, but he's done a fair amount of travel, and I feel as though he's done at least one overseas trip, possibly two, in the 6 months prior to him taking her diary to read through it. So she's due to collect those, she doesn't. Going back to the personal diary and things, what else I get from this male is that he's quite intelligent, and I get the feeling from this that he specifically placed those there on the step at closing time. He knows that they're going to be found and no one's going to question that, because if the items are returned, it's not classed as a theft. There's no fingerprints, there's no DNA, and I don't believe they've ever been checked. So again, that's a bit of a missed opportunity. So after this, she's sorting this out. About 12:40, Susie leaves. She goes to meet this Mr Kipper. Now, this is where everything gets really, really blurred. And what I keep getting is there's themes that run through this case from start to finish. The first one is the number 2. Everything's happening twos and it has two sides to it. And the second thing is this child, and I can't work out whether it's a childhood link or an actual child that's connected to this somehow. So Susie meets Mr Kipper. In terms of who Mr Kipper is, I do have to say I feel as though she's had flowers from him in the past. There's been some form of romantic link there, I feel. I don't know whether it's ongoing or whether it was in the past, but there was an intimate connection, I have to say. Another thing that comes through is that the timings are slightly off. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that people are being dishonest. I don't mean that anything's being made up. I just feel as though the timings, there's certain people that have been the mistaken in what they saw that day. But anyway, timings are off, and it's to do with this. It's to do with the vehicle. So as she meets this man, this Mr Kipper, I do feel as though that's not his real name, obviously, but I feel as though it's someone who she does recognise. He is known to her, and they have this romantic link, whether that's ongoing at the time or from the past. There's a romantic link there, and I don't feel as though Susie had any idea she would be in any danger with him. Rather, whether that was naivety or whatever else, or rose-tinted spectacles, but she had no idea she was going to be in any danger whatsoever with this man. So they meet, and what I keep getting with the twos again is that this man is like a Jekyll Hyde. So he's got two personalities. On top of that, in terms of perpetrators in Susie's disappearance, I also keep getting that there's possibly two people involved, and I don't mean involved in the crime itself. I mean that there's some extra assistance in covering for the crime. So this man, this Mr Kipper, master of trickery and deception, and he manages to get Susie to a different property. Now, something goes wrong very dramatically, and I feel that might be inside the house rather than in Susie's vehicle. I feel as though she gets in the car and drives to this property. I don't feel as though she's taken there by him. She goes to this property, and what I get is this property's in London. It's owned at the time by a female, and this female, I'm getting mother around her, so I don't know if she's this male's mother or she's the mother of his child. I do feel this male is in a relationship, so it's a third party involvement kind of thing, if there ever was anything between him and Suzy Lamplugh. Now, around this meeting, whatever, there's this offer. There's a continuing offer all the way through it, and this offer is all to do with money. But I'm getting that this is a dirty offer, so it comes with strings attached that Susie wouldn't want. So he charms her into the house. She knows him. She doesn't think she's got anything to be afraid of. And again, Mr Kipper, I get this travel overseas, so I do feel as though it's the same person who took her diary to have a look through. So then I get that she's walking away from him, and whether that means she's ending whatever's happening between the two of them, or she's specifically walking away from that house, I'm not sure, but things go completely wrong, and it comes as a complete shock to Susie. This comes completely out of the blue and knocks her sideways. Now, I've said this was indoors, it was in a house. I do feel that this was violent, and I feel there was some sort of hostage situation there, but I don't want to go into any of those details. I also feel as though the motive was romantic. There was some sort of partnership there, like a scorned lover, something along those lines. And again, after this, I get that there's this other offer, don't know what he's doing, but it's like he's toying with her, like he's playing with her, and he gives this offer again. Now, this man's extremely violent, and what I get is that he's a repeat offender. He's the jealous type, and I kept on getting the serial killer card out for him. But we also get is that this man lives his life as a complete fraud, or he did live his life as a complete fraud, but he was never caught. Everything was always covered up for him. The car was moved by a male, I feel, slightly younger than the perpetrator, and I'm not saying that this younger male had anything to do with Susie's disappearance, knows anything about, well, probably would later on, but whether he knew exactly what had happened to her or not, I feel as though it was just a move the car situation. Now, and there's a possible payment involved there with some sort of cover up. What I get after the events is that after Susie passed, after she disappeared, this man carried on with his life. He married, I'm going to say remarried actually, because I feel as though this was a second partnership. He had a son, he went on family holidays, and carried on to live his life as a fraud, I would say. Because of this overseas travel, because of the remarriage, son, that kind of thing, I don't get the feeling that this person is John Cannan, who they have as the chief suspect in the Suzy Lamplugh case. In terms of where she is, I do feel she's scattered. I don't feel as though she's in one specific location, but I do feel buried as well. It's quite unfortunate because I don't feel as though Susie would ever be found, which is sad. But next time I will do the Madeleine McCann case. And if you do have any questions on the Suzy Lamplugh reading, please ask and I'll see if I can clarify.